We'll start the meeting with the flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, all you green-shirted guys, come on up here.
Jeff make the speech.
Usually it comes first.
Okay, and everybody kind of be friendly here. All right.
These are the folks representing Pittsburgh Beautiful, and this evening we have a proclamation from the Office of the Mayor of the City of Pittsburgh. Whereas in 1998, Pittsburgh Beautiful was established to improve the image and appearance of Pittsburgh through support for government action, coordination with like-minded organizations by fostering individual responsibility for the appreciation of the beautification of Pittsburgh. And whereas for the past 25 years, the dedicated Pittsburgh Beautiful volunteers have worked tirelessly to increase the attractiveness of our city. And whereas Pittsburgh Beautiful members maintain the Walnut and Kansas Triangle, YMCA Triangle, and flag, Lincoln Park sign on 12th Street, public parking lot planters, farmers market decor planters, and Quincy Street Triangle. And whereas Pittsburgh Beautiful members coordinate and participate in the biannual Highway 69 cleanup. And whereas the Welcome to Pittsburgh signs, downtown urns and hanging baskets, trailhead park amenities, and the RV bike park amenities were purchased by and continue to be maintained by Pittsburgh Beautiful members. And whereas each month the owners of 2 homes and 1 business in Pittsburgh are recognized with the Pittsburgh Beautiful Award for the beautification and upkeep of their properties. Now therefore, I, Ron Sigley, Mayor of the City of Pittsburgh, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, November 14, 2023, as Pittsburgh Beautiful Day, and urge all citizens to recognize the efforts of Pittsburgh Beautiful members and the impact they have made on the City of Pittsburgh over the past 25 years. Wow. Thank you very much.
He's taken some of my words, so he's saved some time here. But over 25 years ago, a woman had a vision, and it was to improve the image and appearance of Pittsburgh. She collaborated with Mayor Dave Nance and the Parks and Rec Director, John Kennedy. And she gathered, as Mayor Sigley said, she gathered like-minded citizens and organizations together. They collaborated, they raised funds, they got donations, and you see that now. You see the results. They built the 20th Street bypass welcome sign, and we're still working on it, and it's beautiful. And Trailhead, and all of those other things that Mayor Sigley has mentioned, and so on. And so here we are. We're still here, and recently we have given to Immigrant Park for the maintenance there and to the city Christmas tree. So we're very proud of that. We're looking forward to that. We are Pittsburgh Beautiful. There are some that aren't with us, but we are. And we want to thank Marty Beasley for her vision and for making this possible. So, Marty, thank you for that. And we have to thank the city of Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Just a few words. First of all, congratulations to all of you on winning your elections. Thank you. And I would just like to say that when I had the idea to do this, I got in touch with Dave Nance, who I think was the mayor at that time, and I think I was on the city commission, but I'm not sure. And everything that you just heard that we do, we weren't doing back then. So my congratulations to everyone who has stepped up and stayed with us. Some are still here, some are gone. We have an original board member here, Corey Strout. My sister Marilyn Peterson was also an original member. When I brought it to the city, John Kennedy was a Parks and Rec director. Some of you might remember him. And I asked Edith McNally to come to a meeting also. And they embraced my idea. And we started out with not one red cent. And anything we did back then, we had to raise the funds for. And I think I'm right in saying this, that perhaps our city manager wonders about the T's on the Pittsburgh. Well, let me tell you that we had to buy that piece of stone, and we sent Bob Blunk, who was a wonderful member also and helped us in so many ways and recently passed away. He was just a great guy. He and David Nance went down to Carthage Marble and picked up that slab. It's all the money we had. We couldn't buy it bigger. And he came back and he reported that the letters that we had bought were not going to fit on the sign unless we put one T higher than the other. So it's that hopefully solves some of the question of why it isn't all the way across. But I was watching the Sunday morning Jane Pauley show a couple of weeks ago, and the Hollywood sign. It is not straight across, because it has to be like that to fit the hill that it goes on. And also, if they had put it straight across, someone else could have, they couldn't have gotten a patent. So we're not going to get a patent. But our sign will always be unique. All the members up here are unique. And we're not finished working. I think Toby and Mike McClure says there are 14 parks that the city takes care of. Back when we didn't work so much together, but we do now, and we can't thank you enough for the funding that you okay every year for us, and the watering that goes on. And these are hard-working people, and as you can see, some of us aren't as young as we used to be, so we welcome any new members that would like to come and be a part of us. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Chaplain Mayo, do you want to come up and give us the invocation?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you for pointing me out here. And let us pray. Blessed are you, sacred mystery, eternal source of life and its challenges. Please continue to bless our city and its commission meeting this evening. May we have a peaceful and productive meeting, extending kindness, listening to understand, and trying to see from the perspective of others, walking in their shoes. We give thanks for our elected representatives, for all those who look to keep us safe, who protect us through law and order, and other forms of public service. We thank you for all the good citizens of Pittsburgh who make our city a great and beautiful place to live. May we be especially mindful of the most vulnerable in our community, our children, our elderly, and those who find themselves in need of aid. For we know that Jesus himself, who had no place to lay his head, freely chose solidarity with the outcasts of his day. May your blessing protect us from the dangers of threatening weather. Help us to identify the common ground that unifies us as a community. We ask this in the name of all that each of us holds sacred and holy. Amen. Amen. And thank you. Thanks, Pete.
Okay. We'll call for public input at this point.
William Strength, 1515 Hampton, here in Pittsburgh. Congratulations. commissioners for being reelected. Before I get into more of what I discussed last week, I have a couple questions, specific questions, and that is responsibility. At the P&Z meetings, when projects or plats or other things are proposed, you have the developer or the owner making all kind of promises, talking about it. You have city staff making comments on what all is going to be included and all this other stuff. Who verifies when, after that vote gets done, that that stuff is actually happens? You had the commission here have people come up wanting you to vote for something, so you'll hear what they want you to say. But who verifies that they follow through with what they said? Then after the P&Z meeting, there's the planning stage. Let's say it's a subdivision development. Who is responsible to make sure what was approved by vote is actually part of the plan? And then, once the plan is done and approved, who actually is responsible to ensure that the plan is followed? In other words, responsibility. Whether it's the developer or somebody coming up, or it's a city staff member making a positive comment about something. And I can give you plenty of examples, and I will be giving you a packet here probably the next meeting or the meeting after that that shows you a lot what I'm talking about. What I'd like to talk about now is what I handed out to the commissioners before your meeting. Last meeting I asked, has there been any discussion that would require a replat or rezoning of Silverback Landing? And if you go back and listen to the recording, there was all kind of answers on it. But I would ask the commissioners, instead of asking the city manager, ask Matt Bacon, ask Ms. Fox, ask Dexter themselves if they've been involved in any meetings or know of any knowledge on this. What you have in front of you right now are 3 options to put a new road in on the west end of Silverback to Rouse. All 3 of them involve the cemetery that the Zion Lutheran Church has. The reason I have these is I happen to be a member of that church. At their voters' meeting on Sunday, they were asked to vote about selling their property, and it was a unanimous vote no on all 3 options. They didn't want any part of it. I asked the representative from the church, what did the developer say when he was told that they all voted? He said, well, I was trying to be a good neighbor, but we'll have to go at it another way. I've heard the term eminent domain several times in this discussion. What I'd like to know from the commissioners here, would you guys actually vote to take the church cemetery property away from them so that that developer could have a new road so he could put multi-family housing on that west end? There's already a platted streets and stuff that was approved. But everybody knows they don't want to put that multi-family housing going through that subdivision. So this was supposed to be kept under the wraps from what I was told. I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that this is being discussed, and it's not just my words. You've got the proof in your hands right now of the 3 options that cannot be denied. Thank you.
Any other public input? Seeing none, we'll move to the consent agenda. Commissioners wish to pull item B and item C from the agenda, so we'll now vote for item A and D.
I move approval of the consent agenda, A and D.
Second that.
All in favor? Roll call vote?
Brooks?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
McNeigh?
Yes.
Munsell?
Yes.
Sigley?
Yes. Item B, approval of staff recommendation to waive the city's bid policy and accept a proposal submitted by Massac Golf Car Company for a 5-year lease of 36 golf carts for use of the Four Oaks Golf Course in the amount of $33,120 per year, and authorize the mayor to sign the necessary documents on behalf of the city.
Yeah, Toby.
Yeah.
So this company that we're getting the carts from, are the same company we have?
Yeah, we've been with Massac for 11 years, and they haven't raised our rates until now, because they have to go to a new style of golf cart.
Do we trade them in, or is there any?
The lease is, yes, when the new fleet arrives, we, give back our existing fleet, so we don't actually own them to trade them in, so they roll back to them when we sign the agreement.
All right. That was my question. Thank you.
Toby, is it a 5-year lease?
I believe
I
it
mean,
is, I believe
five-
it is a 5-year lease, yes.
So over 5 years, it's $165,600. So you track the number of people who play golf there every month?
Yes, we do, and I
Like-
intended on having that
Oh, I
data
just
for you, but
wondered.
it's not available. Since COVID, we have seen a significant increase in play. I mean, on good weather days, it's just, card availability is an issue, so we do track it. Not available at this time, but I can get that for you.
Oh, that's all right. I just was wondering because if you divided it out by how many months in a year and for
Yeah.
5 years, and technically if you had, say, 1,150 people playing golf a month and the
Yeah.
prices of the carts,
We will come back to you in the spring with fee increases for the carts.
that's what I was wondering. They seem low, but I don't play golf, so
Yeah.
I just thought,
We are at a good price point, but we've got room to make up some difference there.
move to approve.
Any other questions on item B?
Move to approve.
I second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve item B. Roll call vote?
Brooks?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
McNeigh?
Yes.
Munsell?
Yes.
Sigley?
But yes. Item C, approval of staff request to apply for a Safe Routes to School grant to install a sidewalk on the south side of East 20th Street, Meadowlark Elementary School to Rouse Street, and authorize the mayor to sign the necessary documents, including a letter of support for the grant, on behalf of the city.
That's my question, Matt. Hey,
Yes.
good evening. How big a grant is this?
So right now, we're applying for just the planning phase of this grant, cover design. We're working on some estimates right now. So really, this isn't an application, this isn't for a resolution to accept anything. They asked for a letter of support from the mayor and commission that if they would go ahead and move forward, they want to make sure that if we were to move forward as a commission and we were to receive the grant, that there wouldn't be any. I think in the grand scheme of things, I think this is an 80-20 match if it would come to procurement later on.
I was
So
just wondering how many kids walk to school out there.
so it's not as much about, it is about connectivity. Our Active Transportation Board, Advisory Board, made this recommendation. They're always looking at other alternatives. Really, this is also helps for, Fire Station Number 2 is the default place for the school to go to, and right now there is no path from Meadowlark to, so this has been on the radar for a couple of years,
I
that
see.
it would provide a safe route to Fire Station Number 2 in the event of an emergency. So,
So the necessary documents are for the letter of support.
there's a letter of support for the mayor to sign if the
Okay.
commission so
Okay.
approves to
So
move forward
not
with applying.
documents yet, just letter of
Correct.
support.
This is just for the planning phase of this sidewalk.
It's much needed then.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the request for Safe Routes School grant. All in, roll call,
Brooks?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
McNeigh?
Yes.
Munsell?
Yes.
Sigley?
yes.
Thank you.
Moving on with the agenda, consider the following. A variance request, consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals to approve the request submitted by Larry and Donna Shipman for a setback variance to accommodate an addition to the home at 706 Osage.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. Larry and Donna had some damage to a vehicle and they were looking to build on. Their home is on a corner lot, so it has two front yard setback, so they're just asking for a variance. He checked with all neighbors, we didn't have anyone opposed. The Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals voted unanimously to approve.
Move to approve.
Second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the variance request. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Item B, variance request. Consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals to approve the request submitted by Macro Builders LLC for a setback variance to accommodate addition to the building located at 902 South Joplin.
Yep. So this is the pit stop building there on the corner. They're wanting to add on for additional storage. Again, it wouldn't give them a 20-foot setback in the rear, so they're asking for a variance there. We did not have anybody that was opposed. It would align with the laundromat. It doesn't affect the property lines, so the Planning Commission Board voted unanimously as well.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the recommendation of the Planning Commission for the zoning appeals to approve the request submitted by Macro Builders. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item C, vacation request. Consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission Board of Appeals to approve the request submitted by Ryan McMillan to vacate the unopened alley at 2709 North Michigan.
This one was actually, talked with Rod Zinn, the surveyor. This would actually clean up the deed. The deed shows that he owns it. So it's just a simple vacation request to clean up that alley. It's part of his property anyway. So, and they voted unanimously. No one was opposed.
Move to approve.
Second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign. The Lorenz House Development LLC request. Consider the recommendation of the Economic Development Advisory Committee to approve the request submitted by Lorenz House Development LLC to reimburse Lorenz House Development LLC an amount equal to 10% of the total project costs associated with the renovation of the property located at 211 North Broadway, with the city's investment funded through the revolving loan fund, earmarked specifically for infrastructure improvements, not to exceed $67,500.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. Happy to bring you two recommendations from the Economic Development Advisory Committee this evening. First of all, the project that you just mentioned, Mr. Mayor, request from Lorenz House Development LLC. This would be the third such project that Shawnee Lorenz, who is here with us tonight, and her husband Josh have taken on in our community. The community may be familiar with the other two. The first was at 107 East 7th Street, which is the building just next to the Morning Sun that Shawnee and Josh purchased a couple of years ago and renovated that and got it back into use. And then most recently, earlier this year, a building at 203 North Broadway that's currently the home of Ray and Kay Boutique here in Pittsburgh on Broadway. So their next proposed venture would be what we would refer to as the Audacious Boutique building. As you mentioned, that's located at 211 North Broadway. It's a significantly bigger project, much costlier, needs a lot more work. So they did apply for incentives from the Economic Development Advisory Committee. I'll come back up in just a minute and tell you what that recommendation is from the EDAC. But before, I will just ask Shawnee to maybe give you the highlights of what she and Josh plan to do to that building. So, Shawnee.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, thank you so much for having me. My invisible husband joins me tonight. He was unable to join us, Josh Lorenz, but it's so good to see you again. We're able to complete the project that we submitted funding for earlier this year in February, that now is home to Ray and Kay Boutique, and we just want to continue that work of restoring buildings to productive use downtown, especially as it relates to small local business. So this project currently that we're discussing is 211 North Broadway. It was Audacious Boutique, and before that Bishop's, but long ago it was the Biles Brothers Bakery when it was established in 1901, and we look forward to restoring it to the beauty that it had back then, and hopefully adding some additional features that will make it even more functional for our community. So I'm going to kind of skip forward here a little bit. So, and we actually, this was a rendering that I threw together, or a conceptual image that I threw together in about 30 minutes. You'll be very glad to know that when I went to submit this, I wanted some kind of visual, but we have since commissioned Echelon Architecture, who helped the city with their project here, and who is also a former tenant of ours over at the building at 107 East 7th Street. And we have some beautiful drawings and plans that are being created, but also some great renderings that we'll be able to promote the project with. So at present, the building is in virtual disuse. A small area of the building had been used for many years as a boutique space. However, there were a myriad of issues with the building to the point that it needed to be vacated. And so now it is ready to be completely revitalized. As some of you probably know or can imagine, these buildings are extremely costly, to the point of being not possible if it were not for grant funds and other monies. We also had to get very creative with ways that we could make this project cash flow, because otherwise it would simply not even break even. So what we ended up doing was coming up with a very dynamic plan to have an expanded sales floor on that first level for it'll be premier retail space. We're actually going to restore the historic loft. There was a balcony that overlooked the sales floor originally, so we're going to restore that to the property, continue this the beautiful tin ceiling there, keep as many historic features as possible, and even infuse some that haven't been there for quite some time to give it that historic charm back. Then beyond that, there will be 2 what we're calling micro units. These are multi-purpose spaces that could be used for small business, be it office space, a boutique. It could be, we've had some interest in somebody wanted to open a salon there. These will be extremely competitively priced that'll allow small businesses to occupy these spaces. And somebody might think, well, why those units, they're each about 600 square feet. Well, why so small? Is anybody going to want that space? Well, I can tell you, we had already reached out to someone to lease the building at 203 North Broadway. And when we initially purchased the property, I thought, oh, I hope that we can get a tenant because it's such a small footprint. I lovingly call it our lemonade stand because it's quite small. Well, I had about 7 calls for that little lemonade stand. And they were all small business owners, and they said, I'm wanting to start a small business, but I'm just too intimidated by a larger lease or larger square footage. So this was really appealing to them, and so we know that there's already that market out there. And so what we're going to do is secure the back of that area, the vacant lot that was once the Cozy Theater, that will be secured by fencing. And then it will be completely re-landscaped. That area can be used for an event space, but it will also have access to what we're calling those micro units on the side. It'll be gated in the front, so it'll be open during business hours so people can access the spaces that'll be accessible through the north wall of the building. And then there will be a shared restroom and kitchenette for those units, as well as a private restroom associated with the retail space in the front. And then finally, up top, there will be a luxury apartment that will be created. It will be completely styled and furnished. Those properties we've had pretty good luck with that. And so we are going to do that to restore a dwelling to the second floor. And on the back side of the green space will be permit parking for those tenants, so that there are 5 defined parking spaces, so that everyone has their own place to park off of the street. So that is our plan for this building. We're very excited to get started. And we're excited / in some ways terrified. It is a very costly project. My husband's not terrified. He builds millions and millions of dollars worth of projects, but as you can imagine right now, construction costs are quite high. So having the opportunity to get a 10% match from the city will be huge as we work to completely re-tuck point the building, all new roof, new trusses, serious electrical work needs done. Basically, we're going to keep the shell, but start up from there. So we really would appreciate the investment of 10% match from the city so we can continue this work and hopefully onward to additional projects.
Okay, thank you, Shoni. And just to clarify, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, this is, as the agenda item states, this is an anticipated $675,000 investment by Lorenz House. So what they are requesting is very similar to what we've done with other projects, where they would complete the project and then submit verification that they spent that, and they would be reimbursed for 10% of the total project cost. I believe it was reported that this would be a loan. It would not be a loan. It would be consistent with the other projects like this that we have done in the past. So the city's investment would not exceed $67,500, which would be 10% of that 675 number. So with that, Shawnee or I, either one would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So we can take out revolving loan fund.
It comes from the revolving, it's a little confusing, Mr. Mayor, because the money comes from the revolving loan fund, but it would not be a repayable loan. And I know the official RLF application is the same application that we've used for probably 20 years or so, and it was intended to be, when the application was made, it was written as a repayable loan. So a lot of times the questions don't necessarily apply to these kinds of requests, but this would not be a repayable loan.
Okay.
Shawnee, do you have a timeline?
Yes, so-
Ideally?
Yes, so we plan to approach this in a phased manner. So the first space that would be opened is the retail space on the first floor. We're hoping to have that done by early summer. And then the spaces beyond that will be completed. Ideally, I would love to have them done in October. My husband says December is realistic. So we will see which one of us wins that battle in the schedule. But that is our goal, yes. So typically our projects, this will be, we have a record of never taking more than a year, and usually it's about 6 to 8 months. So we're hoping that we can come under 12 months if possible.
My voting's on Shawnee.
I was gonna ask a question about the parking, but you answered that.
Yes.
So it's a permit parking.
Yes.
How do you regulate that if somebody would
So
park in there?
what our plan is we plan to comply with the city's requirements that it's paved, everything is clearly marked, and there will be signage up, and we will have a towing company of choice that in the instance that someone were to park in that parking, that it's clearly posted that these are tenant spaces, we will issue permits for each one of our tenants, and in the instance that there is someone that's unauthorized to park there, we will first send out a notification. Let's say that maybe we have a hair salon and one of the ladies is in there, well, she'll just have to run out in her foil and she'll have to move her car. But in the instance that that goes, that request goes unnoticed, then that car will be requested to be moved or towed, and that person at their own cost can retrieve their vehicle from impound.
Well, it sounds like you put a lot of thought into the parking issue, because that is a concern when we have a lot of great places being remodeled. And I thank you for that. And it sounds like you've got that taken care of, so.
We're happy to do it.
Thank you for making this the third investment in the community too. That's a pretty awesome feat.
Absolutely. To my husband's terror, I have a whole list of future projects I'd like to take on. So, and I would like to just add one quick thing before this goes to vote or after. But I would like to say in response to Mr. Strum's comments that responsibility and commitment is extremely important. And I think that each developer, be them from our community or beyond, I hope and pray, I can tell you that our family takes this commitment to our community extremely seriously. And this takes a lot of blood, sweat, tears, risk, and faith on the part of the developers. And so we appreciate having a collaborative community that wants to move forward and help these projects happen, because if they didn't, I am fairly confident that we wouldn't be where we are now, and 50 years from now, we would be in a much more dire place. And so we appreciate the commitment that the commission and all of our fellow citizens of Pittsburgh to help us move forward, that we can continue these investments in good faith with each other, but also back that up with sound reporting, as we always do at the end of a project, to verify all costs and compliance to our commitments.
I think you've proven
Thank you.
that. Thank you so much. Move to approve.
Second.
I second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve Lorenz House Development request. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All by same sign.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Item E, 620 Fabrication Company request. Consider the recommendation of the Economic Development Advisory Committee to approve the request submitted by 620 Fabrication Company, a sister company of Leafy Green Farms, to reimburse Leafy Green Farms an amount equal to 10% of the total project cost associated with improvements to the property located at 305 South Joplin, with the city's investment funded through, through the revolving loan fund, earmarked specifically for infrastructure improvements not to exceed $49,000.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. As you're well aware, Pittsburgh, our community has a successful track record of homegrown businesses that started here and then grew to be known around the world as leaders in their field. I think the project we're about to bring you could be the next line, the next one in that line of successful entrepreneurial success stories. The request is officially from 620 Fabrication Company. It's a sister company to Leafy Green Farms, which from anybody listening tonight that's not familiar with that, it's a hydroponic farming operation based in the Pittsburgh Airport Industrial Park, where they essentially take trailers and use them in lieu of commercial farms. There are lots of advantages. I'm going to ask Quentin Holmes to come up and give you just a brief outline of Leafy Green Farms as the company. But they're at that scary point, as many small businesses are when they're growing, where it's time to make an investment and really go to the next level because the demand requires it, and that investment would be acquiring a property on Joplin that would allow them to meet the production demand that they've already experienced, but will continue to experience over the next 12 months. So this is another project that the EDAC considered a couple of weeks ago. They have a recommendation for your consideration tonight. But before we talk about that, I want to ask Quentin to talk about the project itself. Quentin.
Sure. Thank you. I was the chosen one to represent 620 Fabrication Company tonight. Blake kind of teed it up really well. Are you all familiar with Leafy Green Farms and the operation they have? Okay. So I guess the kicking off point for 620 Fabrication Company was the growth that Leafy Green Farms has already experienced just within the last year, as well as kind of looking into the future with the excitement from Governor Kelly and others, other leaders around the state of Kansas. So what 620 Fabrication Company is doing is actually, it's a new manufacturing company that was developed because of the interest in the farms. If you know where it's located, there's basically 2 farms out there at any given time that are being fabricated to be shipped out to schools or any other organization that likes one. The Department of Children and Family at the state awarded Leafy Green Farms $1 million grant, or actually Community Green Farms, $1 million grant for Leafy to put 10 farms in 10 schools in southeast Kansas as phase 1. They have 13 months to do that. There is no way to produce these 10 farms in 13 months, 2 at a time in the parking lot at the airport. That's just not possible. Since then, multiple schools and organizations have toured the facility, and it seems to have become quite a thing where definitely local area schools that have not been chosen under this grant want a farm as well. So the idea is that in the next 5 years, we place 105 farms in all 105 counties across the state of Kansas. 620 Fabrication, and I'll just kind of go through this pretty quickly. The building is located where Red Giant Oil, where we remember that on Joplin Street, just south of your place there. That did become RTL Fabrication. RTL Fabrication has dissolved their business, and 620 Fabrication Company is going to move their manufacturing operations there. The building is set up for fabrication to a sense. It doesn't have kind of the bigger, heavy industrial components that would be needed there as far as crane operations, pad placement, offloading for the containers to go inside the building, and all those things. This will, like I said, it will be a new manufacturing company here. Again, here's the location. Here are the kind of modifications that need to be done to the building, along with the funding request. Obviously, removal of the fence. Need to place a new concrete pad where the old containers were, the holding tanks were. if you remember that. That will host the I-beam frame for unloading of these containers from the semis. Need a ramp on the back side of the building to be able to pull the containers into the building for fabrication. So that we'll need to build a ramp there as well as widen that door. And add 2 garage doors to the south side to be able to access as well. Here's kind of a breakdown of the budget. The purchase price of the property, $265,000. The land improvements, we do have estimates on those from local contractors of $150,000. Machinery and equipment that will be required for this is $75,000, bringing the total project budget to $490,000. The total request is 10%, which is $49,000. And that will be very similar to the last request that you had seen reimbursed after completion of the project. Again, that will be up to the responsibility of us, the developer, providing you those paid receipts and 10% of that final amount, up to $490,000.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
What's the time frame from getting a container in to shipping the farm out?
Yeah, so we buy refrigerated containers that already have the insulated panels in them. The actual fabrication of the farm takes anywhere from 3 to 5 weeks, and then it's ready to go.
How many employees does it take to do this?
So if we're getting it done in 3 to 5 weeks, it's gonna take per farm probably 3 to 4 employees, because it is obviously fully custom manufacturing of the farms.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. That's one of the things that we hear a lot about. We need manufacturing. This is what this is. And,
Yeah, it'll bring, we're estimating hopefully more in the beginning, once this project is complete, up and running, 10 to 12 full-time jobs,
Good deal.
so.
Are you gonna have rail service there from the back spur?
I hope event all over the place.
I didn't realize it, but I see where it says there's no sewer service there. What, is it a septic tank? Or what kind
Yeah, I
of,
believe Matt Bacon and I had discussed that a couple years ago for another gentleman there.
Yeah.
There is no city sewer to that property.
that's kind of amazing, especially on a busy
Interesting.
road. Sounds like a great project.
Yeah.
What about, it's been the Giant Oil, and before that it was somebody else's oil,
Yeah.
potential contamination of soil.
There's been, the city conducted a phase 1, and I believe a phase 2 has also been conducted because of the contaminants that were on the property that has been encapsulated, and there is no threat. That has been signed off on by the EPA.
The pit was concrete, though, that the big containers were in.
Yeah, it's concrete.
Never heard of any problems ever
No.
down there.
No.
Move to approve.
Second,
Been moved and seconded, excuse me, to approve the 620 Fabrication Company request. All in favor by saying aye?
aye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item F is purchasing policy update. Consider staff recommendation to update the city's purchasing policy.
Mayor and Commissioners, actually, this came to our attention when we were going through some of the grant proposals that we did. One of the requirements of the CDBG grant is that we have a clause in our purchasing policy to allow competitive proposals. And I said, sure, we have that. Well, I looked at the most recent purchasing policy, and no, we do not have a clause in there that allows competitive proposals. That was that one section that we're adding in there. I think I highlighted it. We want to be able to take in the instances of technical proposals, we want to be able to take the proposals from the potential providers without necessarily relying on a low bid. And this is something that I've talked briefly about in the last commission meeting, but it is something we need to include in our purchasing policies. So.
Is that the only change?
There was one minor change that talked about, there's a line in there that said that we wouldn't allow email, and we took that one out.
So
And
you won't allow email?
We will allow email proposals, but they're the form in which we accept these proposals will be defined by the bid documents when they go out.
So sealed bids in the past, you know,
Yes.
everybody comes in and you open them, find out afterwards that whoever's the department is, they look at it and define what's apples to apples.
Right.
And so, okay, so the difference, like the formal purchasing policy document does not reflect the process that is often used. Well, you say specialists, but if they're professionals and they're technical services, what's the difference between the three? If they're,
Between,
as far as the bid process goes, I mean, you're putting the specs out and everybody's bidding, but we all know that prices are different, but it's not always apples to apples, so.
right.
You pick the one,
Well, there's this, if it's a situation where we can actually do a bid proposal, those bids can still come in and be sealed bids, and it's defined by the bid document itself. We'll say up front in the bid documents, these are gonna be sealed bids. If it's something that we can do it based on price, all right? If there's enough specificity and enough very clear defining differences that we can make between the bid
but
proposals.
if you allow emails, you're already gonna see the bid.
We won't allow emails for those particular
Okay.
proposals, all right? So that's why I say it's defined by the bid documents itself. In certain cases, we'll put out a bid and it'll require that you put a formal sealed bid in and submit it to the city clerk.
Okay, so explain common practice to request proposals without price, and then you select the best proposal and negotiate a reasonable price. But isn't that what it's, I mean, you might have, say, 5 companies that will send you
Right.
that, so how do you determine that? By their expertise?
Well, there are a number of different reasons to do that. First of all, they have to put a proposal together that meets our requirements. So they're gonna make a proposal to us and say, we'll provide you these services. Those services may or may not be exactly what we're looking for. all
So
right?
Jay, can we step back? We will issue a request for proposal, right?
Every
Yes,
time.
So there will be the specs that they will need to meet.
Correct,
All right,
correct.
yeah.
And in the case of technical things, and I think this is probably what you're asking, in the case of technical things where there's a high degree of specific professional knowledge that's required, all right? These proposals can sometimes vary, but pretty substantially. And in those cases, we want to choose the one that most closely meets our needs and gets us to the point where we have the result that we're looking for. right?
And at that time, then you negotiate the price with the company that you think will best fit
Right,
that.
and if we can't come to a price that we think is reasonable, we'll go to another one of the proposers.
What's the upper limit of the price? I mean, how much can you spend? I mean, the commission is essentially responsible for the taxpayers' money, so what are we talking about here as far as the upper limit of money you can spend?
In no case will this not, if it's currently it's $20,000 is the most we can do without going to the city commission.
Right.
If it's anything above $20,000, regardless of whether it's a technical proposal or a standard bid process, all of those will come to commission.
Okay.
In every case.
And 20,000 and under is at the discretion of
Right.
Darren.
Right. Currently. that's-
Jay, when you put those proposals out, you would have some sort of estimate what that cost might be.
We have an idea in our heads, and we certainly have a concept of how much we're willing to pay for it. There's been cases where, we've gotten submittals that are beyond what we think is a reasonable dollar amount. So we go either negotiate with them or go to one of the other providers.
So how's it different from whenever you do bid proposals where you open the envelope and do you ever negotiate after the fact? Like with open bids, like if you've done a road or something like that?
Anything that's gonna involve hard quantities,
It's
so
pretty much,
material, the amount of gravel that we know, then we can put it out and have a closed bid, and everybody that's in that business will be able to submit their best attempt to hit that price, and we'll
Yeah.
just look at the price and say that's what it. When you get into professional services and other concepts, you can't put a price on that until you really negotiate with somebody and make sure that the scope is the same for everybody. Buying a ton of rock is buying a ton of rock.
Sure.
Having somebody do town halls to get a concept of a parking study is completely different, and it's something that you're gonna have to talk about. Their professionalism, the team that they're gonna bring to the table, the amount of work that they're gonna spend, the level of engagement, and that's where the interview process becomes beforehand, and then once we get a recommendation on what we think would be a good contract, we'll bring it to you and say, okay, we have this firm, we think it's gonna be X, and you guys will either approve it or not, and if you don't, we'll probably go back to the drawing board and either change the scope or go to another firm.
So you're just revising it to bring it up with the times?
It just doesn't include that right now. Right now, it's sealed bids or.
Yeah, the only option, there's only a few options we have in terms of purchasing services, and it doesn't include this professional services approach that is typically followed.
Which has been requested by some of our grant.
It's required by some of our grant, from our
Right.
grant things, and the fact that we don't have it is really, I always thought we had it, because we've been following that, and I took a close look at that, and we don't, so.
Good catch.
Well, I should have caught it a while ago.
Thank you. I appreciate you answering that. Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Item G, grant award. Consider staff recommendation to approve the grant agreement between the City of Pittsburgh and Kansas Housing Resources Corporation, assumption agreement between the City of Pittsburgh and Smithsonian LLC managing member, and personal guarantee between the City of Pittsburgh, DVLP LLC, Smithsonian LLC, owners including Quentin Holmes, Monica Holmes, Patrick Crossland, Bonnie Crossland, Ian Uvon, Bart Arnett, Micah Arnett, in association with the grant to rehabilitate the Smith Clinic located at 920 North Broadway.
That's a lot, yes. Okay, so we had passed a resolution to apply for the MIH ARPA grant. We did apply for that in June of '23, and then we were awarded August 14th, $840,000 towards this project, which is very exciting for the city and our partnership with this development group, not only because they've been incredible to work with, but because they're all local and they all care a lot about our community and our downtown and these buildings that they're saving, along with others that are working with us. But this particular project is the 902 North Broadway, was the Smith Clinic that had some fire destruction, and were able to save that historic building, and they will be putting in 14 affordable rental units to add to the downtown community. Those rental units will need to be moderate income tenants because they received the grant funding for that. So we're just asking to sign that grant agreement so that they can start work. And then the other two agreements are because they are taking on the responsibility that we have as a city since we applied for the grant and partnering with us to complete that project.
Driving by there, they've already started work, right?
Whenever they had to do the fire remediation, they had to do all of that already, which is fine, but not the actual full work yet.
Okay.
So Kim, on the letter from Kansas Housing, there's two different figures. There's the 840 and then there's the 420. What
Yep.
what
So
is that?
the $420,000 is the tax credits, and that's the builder and developer. They actually apply for those. So they were also awarded tax credits. And it is common to have a city apply for the MIH or MIH ARPA, and then the developer would apply for the tax credits for the same project. So it's exciting they were awarded.
On page 130, the tax credits show 390,600, but on this page it says 420. Is it 420 or is it 390? Or, I mean, I just saw the difference, but 840,000, are you talking just for that building alone or just? for
Yes,
that building alone?
yes, for that building alone, yes.
I just seen there was a difference of like, not quite $25,000.
So on 130 is the upper.
Page 130, the
Right.
KITC equity on top. Is that the, and it shows
It's
420?
420,000.
It's 420,
So
okay.
that's what
All right.
that
Oh,
was the
okay,
same.
as long as you're here. You talked about 20 apartments to begin with, and then you went to 14. Did you just make them bigger?
Yeah, first I'm gonna answer this question on the
Okay.
420 versus the 390. The 390 is actually the equity that we will get out of the tax credits.
Oh,
It's not a
okay.
one-to-one.
Okay,
We will have to sell them at a discounted price, unless someone wants them for 100%, which.
okay.
that's
I found that just a little
an investment.
confusing, sorry.
So, That's the actual equity that we will return out of the tax
Sure.
credits.
So did you end up making the apartments a little bigger? You talked about 20 to start with back then.
Yeah, so it was originally 20 units, just to rebuild kind of the same ways. And first of all, I've given a shout out every opportunity I have. That building, the fire in that building was incredible. And if you could go in there and see how the fire department saved that building, it's incredible. You couldn't tell there was a fire other than the couple rooms where the fire had started. Very impressive. So,
They don't make buildings like that anymore.
no, and the fire department did exactly what they were supposed to do. So whoever's training them, was on the team there, good job. So back to your question about the 20. So when we originally had applied for the grant, the group at KHRC, they liked our application, they liked everything about it. They actually denied us and were using our application as examples across the state, which was interesting. But the reason they had denied it is they felt like the units were too small for apartments. They said the size of them, the square footage size, felt more like a dorm room. So they asked us to decrease the
Sure.
amount of apartments and increase the size of them.
So what's gonna be the price range on the rental on these apartments?
They'll range anywhere from $800 to $1,200 a month.
I have one other question. You gonna have to put a sprinkler system on the second floor?
Yeah.
Yes. And that's part of the.
Yeah, that's all in there. It's all part of it, the infrastructure part of it.
That's just for the second floor or the bottom floor too?
They'll
All
be
of it?
fully sprinkled.
What about the parking? I'm gonna ask Chuck's question.
Yeah.
What about the parking?
On property, there are roughly 8 spaces that are actually on the property. And then along the side street there's another roughly 5. We have spoke to the Catholic Diocese there, for the parking lot that they have. And, they said that we can definitely discuss, maybe utilizing that last row of parking there for our tenants as well, to where it's off-street.
That parking lot wasn't the building's parking lot?
No, it's actually the.
Really?
Yeah, St. Mary's.
I always thought it was.
Yeah, so did everyone else.
You better get with Shawnee and put a sign up.
Yeah.
We told
Yeah.
at own expense.
Move to approve.
I second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the grant agreement between the city of Pittsburgh and Kansas Housing Resources Corporation, et cetera. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign. Okay, continuing on. Non-agenda reports and requests. Anything from the city?
Matt has the 27th Street update.
27th Street, oh.
Good evening. So, a week or two ago, you approved the 27th Street project. Well, I'm happy to report the contractor is going to start tomorrow. So, we put out a press release yesterday, but just to make everyone aware that 27th Street on the east side of the Walmart Supercenter South Drive will be closed. From that point to Joplin, we'll have all the barricades. They will start demolition, and then after the Monday following Black Friday, we will actually shut all of 27th Street down to move forward with that project. So exciting! And then in the weeks following, they'll also move a crew out to 27th Street Terrace. So just want to kind of give everyone an update before their holiday shopping adventure kicks off. So thank you.
How long?
We'll see. We're going in winter.
It's not committed.
We'll see.
It's a pretty.
And as an update, I'll say this too, weather and all the stars align. The contractor on Quincy plans on paving a lane Thursday and Friday of this week and Tuesday and Wednesday of next week and get the paving lanes down. So if everything will happen correctly.
But all seriousness, a month?
They have
6 months?
they have,
Not Quincy.
no, on 27th Street, they have 150 working days, but I think they're gonna beat that significantly. They're really looking to get after it, so.
So you said paving lanes on Quincy when?
Thursday, Friday, and Tuesday and Wednesday of next week.
How long after that would be open?
They'll be wrapping up the they'll have to wait till their brakes make. That's gonna range in a couple weeks, for all their concrete breaks to make and get those opened up, and then they'll finish curb and gutter and drive approaches and sidewalks. Continue to work on those. So.
Okay, thank you.
Good job, Matt.
Anything else from the city?
Respond to Mr. Strentz, but
Yeah, I'm gonna ask Bill to come back forward. I have a couple questions. You gave us these three pages.
Right.
Was this platted along with the original, was the road platted along with the original plat?
There, in the original plat, phase 2 and 3, when they got to that, there was a exit out on Bittner Place to go through the subdivision, Bittner Addition. And then also they stubbed out a road to Hampton at the far east end. And supposedly the developer was supposed to put a crash gate in there, but thanks to Matt, he went in and put some poles in and a cable across it to keep people from driving through. Because that was one of my things, is I was going to bring it up. The developer had $50,000 in his RHID for a crash gate, but he never installed it. So Matt put that in.
Okay, so these were not part of the original plan?
No, in
So
fact,
when did these come up?
they were handed to the representative of Zion Lutheran Church, it'll be 2 weeks, Thursday, I think it was, or a week Thursday, so that he could take them in front of the board members or the church members on Sunday to try to convince them that, or to propose to be able to sell that property to the developer.
So if he presented them, the city had no interest in doing this. He did this on his own, correct?
well, let's be clear. I think Bill's question is, exactly, those are not our plans. The developer came to us and said, hey, I'd like to look at a road coming in from Rouse. Showed us those 3 plans, and we said, that's private property, you need to go talk to the property owners. So, yes, we spoke to him, they're not our plans. And after that, I mean, that's, every developer has their right to do whatever they want.
Of course.
So it's part of the developer's planning process. I mean, a developer has to plan before.
Well, he already had a plan and approved, but the deal is, he's wanting to put multifamily in there, and they have a new exit going out onto Rouse, so it
But Bill,
doesn't.
as we talked about last time, that whole phase 2 would have to go through the whole process again.
But the
So,
thing is, just like the last time, they tried to get the plats approved. By approving plats, they don't have to notify anybody in the area. Fortunately, last time, one of the P&Z members contacted one of the neighbors and said, hey, you might need to know that on Monday night, they're going to be voting to approve these plats.
but as we talked about last time, if the developer is talking about multifamily, that is a zoning change, and that would go through the process, so.
But the deal was, they were gonna try to get the plats pushed through last time, and then they could say, oh, then they go for the zoning, say, well, we gotta change the zoning because we've got these plats approved.
I think they're
It's a
along,
backdoor way of getting it through.
well, I
Yeah,
guess we're
I
all
don't-
aware now of the doors.
I mean, so there was 3 questions. We just covered the 3 plans in front of you, the developers, that he proposed to us. They are not our plans. Eminent domain is a function that the city would have to be involved in. A developer can't eminent domain, to my knowledge. That's correct. So,
I mean, aren't there new legislative
I've been here 12
restrictions?
years. We've never done eminent domain, and I think it's important that we clear that up today, because we've never mentioned eminent domain. There's no plans to do eminent domain. And it's the first I've heard of it. And the last thing about supposedly this was meant to be kept under wraps. This isn't our business. We met with a developer today that's already announced they were coming to town. And it's a retail development. And we met with them for an hour at our engineering meeting about roads and easements. water main easements, how they would get access. They had to go to KDOT. This happens all the time. For a residential developer to go to the city and say, hey, I want access off of Rouse near a railroad track into a development that's a RID is completely normal. And it's not something that we're going to announce or make a public spectacle over. It's his right to do that. And we did what we were supposed to do. I know several of the staff were named. They're all in the engineering committee. We told him it's private property and to go get permission and come back and see us if he did. So the fact that we're trying to keep things under wraps is ridiculous. I know there was discussion about how we do business at the city. We encourage every developer, anybody that has an interest in development in this town, to please come meet with the city, give us your plans. We'll tell you, and I think your initial question was who verifies things actually happen. I think we have a really good track record of getting development agreements, and the development agreements usually specify who's responsible for what roads, who's responsible for sewers, who's responsible for land, moving the land, building the homes. So the city has responsibilities across the board. The developers have responsibilities across the board. You mentioned the crash gate. You mentioned, somebody mentioned a berm. The responsibilities we have for any development are in that development agreement. And that development agreement does not include a berm. We did talk at Plans and Zoning and in several other meetings about berms and crash gates, but we take the development agreements very seriously. Matt's crew's done an excellent job with stormwater, and I want to encourage developers to continue to come to the city with ideas and understand that we're not just going to bring them in here and talk about their private concepts and things that they're trying to get approved or see if they could actually work. I mean, we've been very fortunate. Blake gave an unbelievable presentation today at Rotary talking about all the development that happened. Every one of those is a unique development. And the reason they keep happening is because the team at the city, whoever it is, sits down at the table with them and gives them a chance to express what concepts and ideas they have, and we try to help them. And I don't think it would be appropriate at all if we didn't keep them under wraps. We bring things to this body when there's an agreement, a contract to be approved, money to be encumbered, and I don't think we're at liberty to publish all of the ideas and concepts from developers as they come across the city in our meetings. I said that 2 weeks ago, and it didn't sound like it was received very well, so I'll say it again. We're meeting with developers all the time, and we're trying to accommodate them to make them want to develop in Pittsburgh. I think we do a very good job of it. And I think to the extent that Mickey's been here as long as anybody with Silverback, and he's trying to find a way, whatever he wants to build, to not come through East Hills for whatever anybody's interpretation of that process. Me as an outsider looking at it, it's been pretty arduous. And I think if he's trying to alleviate the traffic through East Hills, we shouldn't beat him up when he's trying to think about, well, maybe if I came in from Rouse. And we sat down with him immediately and said, we looked at this 4 years ago and couldn't find a way to get in from Rouse. But, you know, Mickey's Mickey, and if he wants to come to us and draw up more plans and present them and ask us what we think, we're going to tell him. And in this case, we told him, it's private property, you probably better check with the churches.
Well, we have to continue to be a development-friendly community. That's the only way we're going to survive in the long run. And there are some things that developers don't want the public to know.
Well, I understand that. But the thing is, what all I kept hearing last week is, we have to make sure the developer has all these options to make money as much as possible. Well, what about the residents that live around there that's got investment in their homes and stuff, and have multifamily, which most likely will be low or moderate income or even homeless? And when they talk about they bring this stuff to you, yeah, they do bring it to you. It's last minute, and you got to vote on it right then, and it's too late to try to say anything or stop it.
I certainly would not encourage that. We're not going to do any last-minute baloney until everybody's seen it, signed off on it, and said, put their imprimatur on it, and then it's brought to us and we make the final decision. But this last-minute stuff doesn't happen here, I can tell you that.
It has happened.
Well, maybe in the past.
I'm just saying, it has happened.
now.
And I will be giving you a packet of stuff where even staff members promise the P and Z board things, knowing that that's what they wanted, so that they would vote for it, and then nowhere do you see it. And I'll give you one quick example right now. There was a discussion by one of the staff members, and I won't name her name, but they would connect the walking and hiking trail, Pitt State's walking trail there, and go around and through Bittner Addition. If you look at Phase 1 construction, there is no place for that, no property. So does that mean it's going to be put on university property? And who's going to pay for it? Is it the university or the city? That 10-foot wide sidewalk stops and it's 5 foot wide. But there is no place in Silverback's property that you can continue that. City staff member, because they knew 2 people on that board was always interested in sidewalks. So that before anything was really said, she mentioned that that was going to be put in.
But it didn't happen, right?
It's not in any of the plans or anything.
Okay.
But yet it was, they were told it would be there. The P and Z board was told that that would be put in place. Plus other things, which and one of them is the berm. What I'd ask you to do, and this may be in other places too, what I'd ask the members to do is to listen to the May and June P and Z recording. They've got them. In fact, what would be fantastic is if the city would put them recordings up in YouTube, just like these meetings are, so the general public could hear all these things that are promised and talked about that might not happen. They just disappear
Well,
once
the
the vote's
bottom
made.
line is the development. So, you know.
But if they're told, if members ask questions, just like if you ask somebody a question and they give you an answer, that they're going to do something and then don't do it, there goes my accountability, responsibility. Whose responsibility is it to make sure they follow up what they told you they would do?
Well,
I'm not
let's-
saying be against developers, I'm for that. But just make sure that the things are being done like they're supposed to. Give you one more quick and then I'm going to sit down. The RHID. Part of it says that at the end of a year, the construction's supposed to be finished and a form needs to be filled out by the developer stating that the infrastructure has been complete, it's to standards, and everybody's been paid. The city then has 30 days to look at it and make inspection or whatever they want to do to approve, to accept them roads. Out of all the RHIDs we've done, or you've done, only one developer did that, and that was Pittsburgh Highlands. None of the rest of them ever submitted that form, so technically, none of the roads at Silverback are cities because that developer never submitted that to be accepted. Creekside or the villas. And I've got the proof because through Freedom of Information, I asked for copies of that. And it came back, there was no copies except for Pittsburgh Highlands, and I've got a copy of that. So there's one example right there. Who was responsible to make sure that that form was turned in? Has the city accepted the roads out there, the infrastructure? Because that form was never submitted. Tammy, I don't want to put you on the spot,
Well,
but I
half the
did
city's
ask for
here,
that,
I mean-
right?
I think we need to be.
Is Matt here?
Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I'm sure you did, but let's go, Matt.
So that infrastructure and his RHID of completion, right now would revolve around, he needs to complete some electric to complete the RHID as part of the form that, as I know it. There is not a sign off for roads, in the fact that we just have not done it. I think the other part of that is challenging for us as a city, for any development, whether it be Silverback, whether it be Pittsburgh Highlands, whether it be Creekside East. You put in infrastructure and especially roads, to get those in before the whole payback, the building of the houses. As far as we're concerned, to answer the question tonight that you're looking, is they're done. They've been done, they've been accepted, there's no quality issues that we've had problems with. They do their curb cuts, they do their sidewalks as they're putting in the houses. The sidewalks, they did not obtain a certificate of occupancy through the building services for the house on the corner until the sidewalk from the trail that was put in the Silverback Way was tied into the sidewalk that was put into Carney Smith Court, which is also put in. And the sidewalks, it's not different in Silverback versus any other development that we've been asked for sidewalks to be delayed because of construction and not getting tore up until driveways and more, the construction activity has decreased so they can come back and put sidewalks in from there. You know, that's part of our subdivision regs, to have those at least on one side of the road. So those are going to happen. But
In your opinion, is phase one complete out there?
phase one right now is pending the electric to the last, how many homes?
Kim, have we begun repaying Mickey for phase one?
No, and that's the same with all of our RID agreements. So when the phase one within the development agreement is complete, the developer will fill out a certificate of substantial completion. That's when we would then go out and verify that everything that was in the development agreement is complete. If and when that happens, then we can release the RID funds. There are RID funds sitting in multiple development right now that we have not released because they haven't turned in a certificate of substantial completion because it's not done yet. So we're not paying them their funds until that's completed, which is what was in the agreement.
So it's not necessarily a time frame, like at the end of the year you have to do this. It's substantial completion of the project, which could have a lot of variables on its journey.
Yep, yes,
Who determines the completion?
all of us. So we all go out and check building services, myself, Matt, utility, everybody goes out and we make sure that everything that we agreed to in phase one is complete. And if it's not, they don't get paid their RID funds until it is
Now,
to
we
city
have had-
standard.
We have had the discussion about, with this commission, because you're all got reelected, so I can say that and not have to wonder who was here. When do we accept a road? We pretty much accept a road when we have a resident that's living in it. We don't have the option of that's a county road until somebody finishes their RID. So we've accepted those roads, we take care of those roads, we sweep those roads. But we haven't signed off, closed out phase one and started paying the developer back on with a completion certificate that all those roads and everything else out there is done because he's not done with phase one.
Okay,
Is that clear?
Yep.
thank you, both. The only thing I would say under the mayor's moment is that we're having, for the, I think the first time, is Sarah Runyon here? No. We're having a Christmas tree lighting in Pittsburgh. Blake, do you know more about that than I do? No? Does anybody know more about that than I do?
Nobody knows more than Sarah.
Holiday tree lighting will be at 6:30 on November 25th, which is Small Business Saturday. So it will kind of tie up the events of Small Business Saturday and bringing customers, residents, everyone downtown. And there will be hot cocoa and what I hear, milk and cookies from Ron's IGA. So they are going to help sponsor that, and we hope to see everybody out there and light the tree.
Do you also want to share about burgers and badges?
Yeah,
Is there,
Why
are
don't
there
we
some
let the
badges here?
public
gonna need
safety-
some badges to share on that. Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yep.
Friday from 11 to 1 p.m. We'll be frying up, grilling up a considerable amount of cheeseburgers, hamburgers. For all the proceeds go to the Children's Advocacy Center. The fire department, police department staff will be doing that, and we'll be starting around 8 a.m. or so and working through the early afternoon. So, annual event. We appreciate the partnership with the fire department. It's at Fire Station number 1, and we'll have over 1,000 burgers we need to grill up. So it's going to be a great opportunity.
Chief, are you still taking orders or not?
We are taking orders, I think, through tomorrow for advanced orders.
Great community support. Every year it gets better and better.
Triple up from last year. You ran out. Or
We ran out, well, we're not
Triple up.
tripling up, but we are certainly
I
increasing
bet you
that
could sell
number.
them all.
Well, that's the goal, yeah.
Does that include pickles and onions and stuff?
There will be, I believe, a few condiments, yes.
A few condiments. You may have to bring your own onions.
You have to bring your own onions?
Can we touch on real quick before you bang the gavel, since the chiefs are up here? A really nice ceremony today at 4:45.
Yes.
Can we let Chief Cherney talk a little bit about what the community just recently purchased?
Go ahead.
This afternoon, we did have the push-in ceremony, as you all well know, of our new pumper, fire truck. That is, it's an amazing piece of machinery. It is, I think, is going to really augment our fleet. It is great for our guys. It's great for the community. The machinery itself is a wonderful item. We are very appreciative. But really the kudos goes to the guys who are operating it and going out there and getting that work done. Without them, the truck sits in the bay. So I'm really excited about getting this truck in service and getting it out there. I think people will love to see it out. The guys will definitely be out driving around. If you see them, feel free to flag them down. They'll stop and show you all about it. So,
It's black and red, it's not white and red.
black
so-
over red.
That's the push-in, I talked to Taylor earlier about the push-in ceremony. What went through my mind immediately was in the days when horses pulled fire wagons. So they'd take the horses to the stable and then push the fire wagon back into the firehouse, and that's where the push-in ceremony comes from.
That is exactly it. And the first push-in of any new fire wagon was always a really big deal for them. So fire department's all about tradition. So we just keep that rolling.
Great to end on these positive notes.
It was awesome to see the kids of the firefighters helping Dad. push
yes.
in. That will
Absolutely.
be generational.
Yes. Awesome.
Okay.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Move for
Move to adjourn.
second. Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Don, I'm not talking about it. Nope, not talking.